what about any other particular challenges facing the property market in 2021? We've talked about Brexit, stamp duty, additional 2% surcharge. Are there any other potential challenges that you can see coming forward for the property market?
There are some factors that we will be watching. I'm not sure they will necessarily be challenges yet, but there's really, depending on what happens, there's potential opportunity there, or there's potential hurdles. So one of them is mortgage lending and how that plays out. So especially around higher LTV lending for people entering the market for the first time, you want that market to remain open. You want activities to still be happening for people with lower deposits. And if there's that continued squeeze on lending for that part of the market, that could have knock-on impacts for the rest of the market if chains are slowing down because these buyers can't get access to finance. So it's really a case of what happens. We can already see there's been a bit more opening up of finance for larger loans and people for smaller deposits. That kind of pool of finance really came under pressure just around autumn time, but we're starting to see it open up again. So that is a potential opportunity, actually. Another factor will be what mortgage lenders do around forbearance and deferrals. So people who are encountering challenges with their mortgage payments, what will the mortgage lenders do? So that's one to watch. The likelihood is the forbearance will be front and center, not like perhaps previous recessions we've seen, where there was a market with falling prices is really characterized by a lot of repossessions, but we haven't seen that in recent years. All the banks have been very forbearing, and it's all about getting people through a difficult situation and into a situation where they can continue to pay for their mortgage. Another key factor we have to consider is policy changes. We don't necessarily know when and how they're going to come up. Some, like the 2% surcharge, has been consulted on, that's fine, but some announcements we get very suddenly, like the stamp duty holiday, very welcome, but sudden. So there's a possibility there could be more government support coming through policy, or we could have policy changes that could have a negative impact. So it's just one to watch, but the likelihood is the government's going to want to shore up the housing market. It is a real bright spot for them, and they'll want to probably continue that into 2021.
Brilliant, thank you for sharing that. And I think from our perspective, we're pretty positive, other than the challenges that we've already discussed. I think in the upper quartile, it's not generally a first-time buyer marketplace. However, some of the transactions are in chains, where at the bottom of the chain, there is that first-time buyer property. Therefore, we will be keeping an eye on Boris's idea of the generation buy and really backing the 5% mortgage initiative, because that will encourage the bottom of the chain to move, which will be important for the top end of the market to keep going through where there are chains. So thank you very much for that. And you touched on it, I think, at the beginning, but I know that you guys at Zoopla have got some really interesting trends that you've seen from consumer behaviour, particular things that people are looking for. Did you want to just elaborate more on those that you found, and perhaps going forwards into 2021, the key things that you think buyers are going to be looking for in their move?
Absolutely. So we've definitely seen since lockdown, and we saw that demand come back to the market, what people are looking for in a property. We can see the search terms, and gardens have really jumped in popularity. Now, they're always a very popular kind of search term because people are looking for a property with a garden. That might be a basement flat, or it could be a house, but it's just jumped so much. And that is also mirrored in balconies for people who are living in apartments. So it's the additional space, outside space. What we've also seen, and it's been building throughout the year, this just wasn't a sharp jump after lockdown and then fading. This has been building all year. Any sort of search terms to do with home office, study, additional space. So again, you can see inside the home, people are looking for more space, and that really factors through. We can see that singing out to us through the data in terms of how quickly homes are selling. 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses selling the quickest in the market at the moment because of the additional space inside and out that comes with having that size of a home. So it's additional space, and we expect that to continue well into 2021.
Brilliant, thank you. And we're certainly seeing similar trends, and we carried out a survey recently and we asked about any changes. Have any particular requirements become more important than pre-lockdown? And garden increased by 39%, space to work from home 40%, broadband speed was 46% more important, and interestingly, the commute became 25% less important, as in this new virtual world that we seem to be living in, you can, of course, work a lot more remotely and you're less reliant on your commute to work. So certainly
Absolutely.
there's a huge shift in lifestyle and behaviours and priorities going forwards.
And opportunity there. So there's some markets perhaps that were a bit overlooked, which could now come into their own, especially if it seems they have good broadband speeds. So if being near a transport hub isn't going to be front and centre because you only have to do your journey twice a week or 3 times a month, then there's whole opportunity areas that perhaps where markets haven't been so buoyant before, relying on commuter workers.
Absolutely. Well, I've really enjoyed our chat, Gráinne. I think that's all the questions that I've got for today. I don't know if you've got any final thoughts before we close this conversation.
Not at all, just to wish you and all your teams a very happy Christmas.
Brilliant. Thank you. Likewise. It's been really brilliant chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.